Hey, this is David Kay, and you're listening to the GeekCast Radio Network.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, and you are listening to Studio 2009.
There is nothing wrong with your podcast player. Do not attempt to adjust the volume. Hello and welcome back into our studio. You are now inside Studio 2009, only on the GeekCast Radio Network. I'm, of course, TFG1Mike, and joining me once again, as always, is Mr. David Draper. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
Can't complain.
Yeah, we could, but it doesn't help, unfortunately.
No, I'm actually in a pretty good place right now. The weather has taken this weird turn for July, where it's very kind of got a nice cool breeze, and I honestly can't complain right now. Aside from the fact that the whole country's going insane and falling apart because of the stupid president.
Well, yes.
Aside from that, but ignoring the fact that the world is going insane. I can't complain. It's fine. I told a friend of mine, I was talking to her about the situation. I said, I'm like Brian Cox in Day After Tomorrow. It's like, it'll all be fine. It'll all work out. And she's like, didn't he die? I'm like, oh yeah, he did. He died in that movie, but it's fine. I'm not worried about it.
Absolutely. All right. And today we're going to be doing a double feature disc journey as we take looks at RRR and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which celebrates its 40th anniversary this year.
Hey.
1984, folks. We old.
1984 was a good year.
Mm-hmm.
Had Gremlins. I think had Ghostbusters too, right?
Yeah. Gremlins.
Ghostbusters 1, 2.
Yeah. 2 was 91?
89.
Yeah.
2 was 89. 2
was 89, you're right. Oh, crap.
It was the year I graduated high school.
Yep. Oh, God, that means 35th anniversary of that, too. I just had a really evil thought. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
84, yes. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Gremlins, Ghostbusters, Beverly Hills Cop, Transformers debuted September 17th. Oh, yeah. The original G1 cartoon debuted. What else in 84? There's a whole bunch. Flashdance. No, Flashdance was 83. Yeah, whole bunch of stuff in 84. 40th anniversary.
സ്കോഡ് സാഹിബ് ആദിലാബാദ് വന്നപ്പോ ഒരു കുട്ടിയെ കൂട്ടിക്കൊണ്ട് വന്നു. നിങ്ങളെ കൊണ്ടുവന്നത് ഗോണ്ട് ജാതി പെണ്ണിനെയാ.
അതുകൊണ്ട് അവർക്കെന്താ തല 2 കൊമ്പുണ്ടോ?
ഒരാട്ടിടയനുണ്ടാകും. പുലിയെ പിടിക്കണമെങ്കിൽ വേട്ടക്കാരൻ വേണം.
And yeah, we're just going to jump right into it. RRR, Rise, Roar, Revolt.
Well, I mean, can we give a little setup for the idea? Because you did not want to watch Temple of Doom.
Nope.
And you finally kind of said, hey, because we're doing the other films, I think I think we'll go ahead and watch Temple of Doom. I'm like, okay. And I can't remember what you wanted to pair it with, if it was Last Crusade or something else. And I said, well, how about we pair it with RRR? Because it's a film also, it's an Indian film made in India, and it sort of is almost more so than I thought at the time, like a counterpoint to Temple of Doom. Because at the time I was just like, well, Temple of Doom is not exactly a very pro-India film per se, and RRR is very pro-India, and
right.
So I was like, okay, I think they make for an interesting, and I feel like personally I was right. They are interesting to compare and contrast.
Yes, they are absolutely. Yeah, and I was very hesitant with RRR, and I did not watch any trailers. You're just like, it's on Netflix. I'm like, okay, fine. Didn't watch any trailers. Didn't even read the Wikipedia article beforehand. I just went in and watched it and all that.
Okay, I was watching some YouTube video, and the guy was talking about films, and he heavily recommended RRR, and he kind of described the basic premise, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch trailers or watch the Wikipedia thing. I went in cold, relatively cold. I knew the basic most premise of two guys that are actually like on opposite sides that inadvertently become best friends.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a cool premise. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the rest of the premise, not to hinder the film or anything, or just kind of baseline it. It's basically a rescue story because they have to rescue the girl, the artist.
Yeah, no,
the daughter.
Yeah,
the whatever. But yeah, RRR. My biggest problem with this movie has nothing to do with the plot. It has nothing to do with the scenery. It has nothing to do with the acting. It has to do with either Netflix not doing their job correctly or me doing something wrong. And I don't do foreign films. I do not. I refuse to watch the Japanese Transformers cartoons because I am not going to read my screen to enjoy robots. Thank you. I just no. But what I found out was I had to have both the subtitles and obviously the English dub, and there's something wrong with the English dub on Netflix, and I understand part of it is one of the guys can't speak English. I get that.
Well, no, like the thing is, well, as we were talking before the thing, like with the English dub, he's speaking English, but the character isn't
right.
Like when I watched it the first time, I turned off the dub because the weird thing about the Netflix is that the English dub and the subtitles doesn't match up.
Yeah.
And that got really like weird, and it bothered me. Like, so I turned off the subtitles, and so I didn't realize that. I mean, it's actually much earlier in the film than you would think, because the film's very long and has a lot happening. But like at one point, there is a plot point that one of the main characters doesn't speak English, and I'm like, wait, what? Because you've been speaking English this whole time. I don't understand. Right. I'm confused. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, they're dubbing it, and he's not supposed to be speaking English, and it got confusing from that perspective. But I mean, both times I watched it with the English dub, and both times, aside from the songs, and there's only like one big musical number in the film, although they do have a lot of songs.
Yeah.
Like aside from the songs, everything is translated, and I think part of it is it does take, at least for me, whenever I'm watching anything with because they do still have accents. It's not like, howdy pilgrim.
Yes, no.
It's they have very thick Indian accents, and I do think, for me at least, whenever I watch a film where people have thick Scottish accents, thick Irish accents, and thick Indian accents, it takes me a while for my brain to kind of catch up. I mean, they're speaking English the whole time, but eventually your ear gets into it, and you kind of you get used to hearing them speak that way, and you hear them better. They're a little easier to understand by the end of the film, at least for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just got confused with it because, like you said, with the English dub,
Beam doesn't speak English, and I'm like, but he's been speaking English. Eventually got to go, oh, okay, because it's dubbed. And
for me, I need one path. I don't need the English dub is fine and great, but I should be able to listen to the English dub and not have to read the sub. I found myself, I actually tried turning the subtitles off and just paying attention to the movie itself.
Well, that's what I did the first time.
Yeah, I had to turn this. I turned the subtitles off for less than 5 minutes. I turned them right back on. And honestly, watching this movie, I would rather turn the audio off and just read the thing. Honestly, I can't believe I'm saying that because I hate reading my screen unless it's just a book or a comic or whatever. I should not have to read a movie. But in this case, yeah.
Privilege much?
I know, right?
Everyone on Earth should always do their movies in English. Why should I have to compromise? Why should I have to compromise?
No, I understand that. I get it, but which is why I am not a foreign film watcher. I avoid the genre.
I get that, but just every movie should. I shouldn't have to read anything in any movie or anything.
But my point is that my point is I don't mind. I can do it, but here's the thing: I want to be able to focus on one thing. So, like you were saying earlier, the songs are not they're translated through the subtitles, but they're not translated through the dub. Yeah, that's fine. I actually liked that. I thought that was cool. So if I have to watch the entire movie and hear if I turn the English dub off, which is what I should have done in the first damn place, but if I have to watch it and just read the screen to understand what's going, I'm fine with that. That was the problem with this for me. There was too many one too many things going on, and I guess I should have made a choice. And overall, that doesn't affect my enjoyment of the movie and the plot and the whatever. Movie has great scenery. Movie has amazing scenes, and we'll get into all that in our notes and everything else. But like, it was just the direction of how I'm supposed to consume this to where I'm going to understand everything. And even though I've said I don't really want to read my screen, if that's the option versus whatever else, I guess I could do that, which is fine, because maybe I would only have to worry about one thing instead of having to focus on two. I'm not a two-focused person. I just can't. I laser focus in on one thing when I'm consuming stuff. Doesn't matter what it is. So, but overall, like I said, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was interesting.
Good. I'm glad you did. Like I've managed to. I'm kind of spoiling the end part of this, but I've recommended it to other people before, and everyone's always liked it. Yeah. So I'm glad my streak continues.
There you go. Undefeated. That's right.
Well, because I'm always like I'm kind of a wimp about like because I understand that I like stuff that like maybe other people don't like, and I've had experiences where I'm like, I love this show, and my friend was like, it was Venture Brothers, and I was like, oh, I love this show, I think it's brilliant, and he's like, I don't get this. This isn't funny. I hate this. I'm like, oh, okay. I couldn't share that with him. So, so I'm like, I especially if I'm doing this like in this thing going out to people I don't know, I am a lot more hesitant to like recommend something weird that I like with Lost World. I was like, look, I love this film, but I understand that a lot of people don't. So your mileage will vary. Like with RRR, I absolutely adore like. To me, like this was like a Marvel film. This is like what Marvel used to like. That there's like I mean we're getting into talking about the film part. There's like an opening sequence that sets up the girl being taken.
Yep.
And then there's the next sequence is setting up the other main character Raghu. And it's like he's like Captain India instead of Captain America. That sequence is amazing, and like it goes on, and you're just like. How anyone can watch that sequence and like not be hooked for the rest of the movie is beyond me. That dude is so badass and amazing. You're just like, I want to see what this dude's story is. I want to see where it goes. I want to see what he does.
Yeah,
he's just so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the scenery is amazing and all of that. And so outside of the whole thing we've already talked about, the only thing I had a little bit of a problem with, and I'm not really. I can handle violence for the most part, but honestly, I think it was the first time when the scene where he's like, clear the road. Like that.
Yeah. Oh, when the bad guy does it? When the governor, like when they yeah. Well, I mean, and also kind of
that was a little much for me, but that's just me, and we're gonna get into a little bit too much for me way later with the other movie that we have, because only one scene in that entire movie that I absolutely do not like, but we'll get to that. But it's that like I said, I my note here is I understand why the violence, but man, I think I did better with the dinosaur violence in the Jurassic Park movies than I did with like literally
it's almost less like. You watch a dinosaur eat someone, and I think I even said this when we were talking about the film. You know that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like the odds are very low that we're even going to have T-Rexes, let alone that a T-Rex is going to murder somebody. Mm-hmm. Like it's a fantasy. It's almost a cartoon. Yeah. I mean, it literally is a cartoon. It's CGI. Yeah. Whereas hurting a desperate woman is all too real in this world, unfortunately.
Yes, very much so.
And that was even after, like, to me, it wasn't when they like clocked her with a tree branch. It was the bit before that.
Yeah.
That made me, because there's this bit that runs through the movie, and it's amazing where like they're gonna shoot her. Yeah. And the governor gives this amazing speech about how much the cost of an English bullet is, and basically how people in India aren't worth the value of a single bullet. I mean, it is the most hateful, racist. And this is something I'm going to say when we get to the Indiana Jones, is that I've never really considered myself. I mean, I'm an old white man. I've never really considered myself particularly woke per se, as the term is used. But like, wow. Like, I don't think you have to be woke to just flinch.
Yeah,
at
no.
that much ugliness and hatred. I mean, that's just like a human thing. Like, how can anybody be that vile?
Yeah.
Like, you want this guy to get his.
Yeah.
And that's before you even like realize that his wife is this psychotic sadist played by Alison Doody of Last Crusade.
Yep.
She's a monster too. Like if I have a criticism of the film, again, because I'm an old white man, there is like a single white person in this entire film who is even remotely sympathetic, and not like, and when I say sympathetic, I mean not cartoonishly evil,
right?
Basically, and it's kind of like, okay, yeah, like these guys are like kind of want like at least maybe one soldier guy to be like, hey, I have qualms about doing these bad things, but nope, they're all bad. All of them are bad. They're very bad men.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh my God, I didn't even recognize Elsa.
Oh, well, it's been.
No, I know, but
no, but to be fair, I mean that movie came out like 2022. Like Last Crusade was 89.
Yeah, I know, but like I'm like, wait.
I mean, it's just I mean, Alison Doody is a very memorable name.
Yes, it is. But again, she has a look, she has a voice, and I'm.
Well, she's also playing an English woman as opposed to an Austrian. She doesn't do the Austrian accent.
Right.
So she sounds different. She looks.
Yeah. Yeah, but like literally, I didn't even. And outside of you explaining to me why you wanted to do this because of the plot and the compare and contrast to Temple of Doom, the whole time I was watching, I was like, oh, he wanted to do this because this was one of, if not Ray Stevens' Ray's last roles before Ray died.
No, that had nothing to do with it, man.
Okay. Well, that was what I was thinking when I was watching. I'm like, oh.
No, it was because it literally was because it was a film set in India. It's a film I think is really good, and it contrasts. And again, in retrospect, I thought it would contrast with Temple of Doom, and I think it really does. Like when we get there, I've even made a joke about it on Facebook. It's the attitudes of the two films are very, very different.
Yes.
Particularly concerning the colonial occupation of England.
Yes.
Of England occupying the colonies in India.
In India, yep. Yeah.
The sun never sets. Like literally, there's like a huge, like the bad guy's fortress. There's a huge map of the world with the words "the sun never sets" in the British Empire like actually on it, which becomes an ironic thing at the very end when.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
We haven't really talked about the movie much. Like the premise of the movie is that there's an obscure village in the middle of nowhere, and when the governor, played by Ray Stevens, goes out on a hunt, his wife becomes enamored with this little local girl who can sing very prettily, and she does like a little, I guess it's a tattoo because she still got it by the end. There's a little tattoo on her hand, and they basically, from their opinion, they're buying the girl, but like the translator lies to the mother and says, oh, they're paying her for the song.
Right.
And they take the girl and they leave, and then the mother tries to stop them, and then she gets hurt. And it turns out this tribe has like a thing where like they all have to be together. And if someone is taken, then it's like a flock of sheep, and they're very gentle. But if you take one of the sheep, the shepherd's going to come, and the premise is that the shepherd is coming, and the shepherd is one of the main characters, Beam. And so they basically put out essentially a bounty on his head. And there's this other character, the other main character, Raj. I think it's Raghu, which I keep saying, and I feel like I'm being racist. I believe it is Raju, but
Raju, yeah.
He's a British. He's an Indian person who's in the British Army,
right?
And it's interesting to watch it the second time because there is a twist. Watching it the second time and like knowing why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he's the guy that I kind of described as Captain India, as like a Indian Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
And there's a sequence at a police station that's under siege in the middle of nowhere by a massive angry mob. And like one guy throws a rock and hits a picture of the governor, and the commander of the base says, I want that man arrested. And he jumps over the fence, fights not a million, but he fights dozens of guys, the fight goes on forever, and he gets the guy and brings him back. Like, and the whole way through, he's being punched and pummeled and held back, but he gets the guy and he drags him back, and it's an amazing. It is a sequence out of a Captain America movie, like, and it's amazing. And then by the end, he picks up his hat, but he picks up his hat and he stiffens up and stands. He resumes post. Yeah. And the commander of the base is like, I'm afraid of that guy more than the crowd.
Exactly. Yep.
And so they put out a bounty on who I'm calling the shepherd, the guy who's coming for the little girl, and the Ragu wants to rise through the ranks. Like, he doesn't even get a promotion for that. Yeah. And he's really ticked off about that. And so he finds out that they will promote whoever arrests the guy who's coming. Yeah. So he takes it. He volunteers, and his commanding officer says, if anybody can do it, he can. So they're basically the one guy's hunting the other guy, and there's this great sequence. The first time you meet the guy I call the shepherd, Beam, he's in the woods, and he's
fighting a tiger.
Well, he's trying to capture a wolf.
Right.
The tiger gets involved. Yeah. And like he ends up capturing a tiger, and it was weird. I'm like, what is going on? Why are they doing this? And again, I've seen it before, so it was like this time I kind of knew. And he says this thing. He's like, I'm sorry that I have to do this to you, my friend. And knocks the tiger out. But again, like, one of the things I love about this film is that both him and the other guy, even though they're like clearly the toughest guy in any fight, they still take hits. Yeah. Like it's you never get the sense they're not just like walking through and it's no big deal. They're always like,
yeah, they're not Superman.
They're not Superman. Captain America is a good analogy because Cap would take hits. Cap's human at the end. And they would get beat up, and they'd be bloodied, and they'd be torn to pieces, but they would still overcome. Yeah, that to me is much more exciting than like a character that has like god tier powers who just sort of like just brushes aside, just smacks around everybody who, like basically like the Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals. Yeah, it's very one sided. It's very boring. Like, you kind of want that illusion that they might lose. That makes their victory more exciting to me. So that sets up the premise, and then there's this sequence where like they end up identifying one of the guys that's working with Beam, and they're trying to find him. Yeah. And in the process, there's this incident where there's this bridge and a train explodes, and a little boy is underneath the bridge when the train explodes, and he's trapped, and there's fire everywhere. And Beam and Ragu see each other, and they immediately go, "We're going to be the guys that save this kid." Yep. There's this fantastic sequence where they do it. They just work almost without they don't even say anything to each other. They just with eyes and with hand motions, and they save the kid, and they become immediate best friends. And of course, that's the twist. Is these two guys? This one guy's hunting the other guy, and the other guy's like trying to accomplish his task, and they become best friends.
Yep. So we've talked about how this is very, very, Captain America, like, wipe his mouth off, I can do this all day kind of thing. And now we're talking about some of the other action scenes, and my first thought was, holy crap, it's Dom and Brian. It's Fast and the Furious in this movie. With that specific scene, with them swinging in and doing the bridge and doing the this and doing that, I'm like, wow, that really seems like something that would be out of the Fast and the Furious movies. Because, that whole scene was amazing. That was so cool. Yeah. I was like, how are they doing that, and how are they going to survive, and how are they going to... Oh, that's how. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that was my favorite. And you said it earlier, this movie is literally Titanic long. It's 3.5 hours. Yeah. It's very long, and it's fun. And the funny thing is I'm one of those types of people that if I'm not liking something, I will be watching the clock and is it over yet? Is it over? And it doesn't matter how good or how bad it is. It's just like, oh God, time. I can't sit here. I literally sat here 3.5 hours, watched the entire movie, took my notes and whatever else and all that. And at the end of the day, I walked away happy with it for the most part, outside of the stuff we already talked about. But that when I got to that, I'm like, really? They've packed so much into these 35 minutes because
that's just setting up the premise of the. I know. That's when you finally get the title of the movie. Yeah, it's like 30 minutes in because the Indian films have like a weird thing where like they got the credits first. Yep. Yeah, like and I mean the next big thing is Beam kind of falls for one of the I don't even know what her relationship is, but she's related to the governor or his wife, and that's Jenny, and she's the one positive white person in the whole film. And that's how you find out that he doesn't speak English if you're listening to the dub. He's like, I can't talk to her, and it's like, why not? He's like, because I don't speak English. I'm like, confused me, and that leads to the sequence. She kind of likes him too, and she invites him to this party. And that sequence, like that song, I believe, won the Academy Award. And because you don't win Academy Awards for sequences, but the sequence won the Academy Award. There's this amazing sequence where the two friends go to this big party, and of course it's a big English party at a big English mansion. And everybody's white except for the band, except for the servants in the band. And he dances with Jenny for a minute, and then this one guy, a jerk white guy, tries to show him up and embarrass him, and his friend steps in and takes over the whole thing and starts playing the drums and sets up like, okay, you can dance all these dances, but can you do this? Can you do the namu namu? And he's like, what? And it's this amazing sequence where they're dancing and
those two scenes, the motorcycle versus horse and the whole saving the boy earlier, and then the dance. Those are the two best action sequences of the entire. I
disagree. We're getting we haven't gotten even to my favorite one yet, but they're dancing, and then it becomes like a competition.
Yep.
Between everybody, and then the two guys are at the end, and then the one guy sees that everybody's cheering for him, except for the girl, except for Jenny. She's cheering for Beam, and he kind of sees that, and then he'd be like, ow, I have a cramp, and lets his buddy win because they're best friends, they're like brothers. So Beam wins, and he impresses the girl, and it's great, and this is unfortunately at some point. He's able to find out that the girl they're looking for, Malia, is alive and in the fortress.
Yep.
He's able to kind of get a message to her, and they decide to move up their the plan to rescue the girl kind of goes into motion, and at the same time the other guy finds the first guy that he met, the one of Beam's associates. He tracks him down and catches him.
Yeah.
And that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But it all leads to this sequence where they're going to break. There's another party, which is why I didn't call it the party sequence. There's another party to welcome the governor back. And that is dude, you find out why they were catching wolves and or tigers.
Yeah.
And there's a sequence where there's a truck and it's full of animals and it breaks through the fortress door. And there's this moment where the truck swerves and the back opens and all the cages open and it's all in slow motion and all these animals come jumping out. And it's that was dude, that was amazing. Are we allowed to curse?
Yes.
That was fucking amazing. And that whole sequence is, and then Ragu shows up. He's been really seriously injured earlier, and ironically, Beam's the one that saves him from death. But that's the moment that he figures out that Beam is the guy that he's been chasing this whole time.
Yeah.
And he's actually really torn up about that because he doesn't want to, And so he shows up. And so it's while these animals are murdering everybody left and right, it's Beam versus Ragu. The friends fight. And that is because there's this whole thing about Ragu represents fire and Beam represents water. And that actually comes up in the film. There's a lot of fire and there's a broken fountain that's spraying water everywhere. It comes up a couple of times thematically in the film.
Yep.
But they fight, and it's just you're just this is and meanwhile the other thing, like I said, even though Beam brought the animals are not on his side. There's a couple of shots of him having to fight them off.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to murder him just like they're trying to. And that fucking deer, man, deer took out more people than the tiger did.
That deer is getting revenge for every truck that ever hit it.
And I mean, I don't know how much further the thing is that the movie has so much more to go. The thing is, when that sequence is over, I'm like, oh my God, I have seen a movie. I'm exhausted. And it's I'm only halfway through. What else can you do? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's not much else that 3 hours 5 minutes or whatever the running time is, whatever it is, it's somewhere close to that. They packed so much, and it's so well done. You mentioned earlier about how the credit sequences work. I was oh, the story, oh, the this, oh, the that, all of those little splits between the stuff, and I'm That's cool. For a movie this long, like, this to me is like reading 200-page book, maybe 300. Well, let's say 300 because you have 3 acts. You know, first 100 pages is the first act, so on and so forth, etc., etc. Yeah, it's 182 minutes, so that's just under 3 hours. And yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was fun. It was interesting. I wasn't sure what in the heck was going to happen, like, because they're all about the girl. They're all about Malia and everything else. I'm like, okay, well, and the whole scene with her and her brother, because Beam's her brother, right?
No, I think they just used that title because he calls Ragu brother too. I think they just call everybody brother.
I was going to say, if they were brother and sister, that scene with them, with her on one side of the door and him on the other side of the door.
Oh, it was really heartbreaking.
Oh, it was so friggin' heartbreaking. Because she's like, wait, you're not taking him with you? He didn't do this. I all but wanted him to point at the bars between them. And I'm like, there's no time. I can't jump over these things or whatever. Like, but he's like, I'll be back. It's okay. And all that. And yeah, no, overall, this is great. This is a lot of fun.
Yes.
Is there anything else about this that you want to bring up?
Apparently it is based on real people. Mm-hmm. They never actually met the story is they never really met in real life.
Okay.
But like the guy who wrote the film said, what if they did? What if they did and they became friends and blah, blah, blah. So it is based on real people. Part of the reason that I had the subtitles on was because the end sequence is another musical number, which is just like almost like a Bollywood fantasy musical number. It has nothing to do with the film, and it has a lot of political imagery that I don't understand because I'm not from India.
Yep.
So I was like, and I didn't have the subtitles on the first time, so I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. Having the subtitles on didn't really help because they don't really explain who these people are that they're talking about. But yeah, it's a great film. There is a twist, which we didn't mention. I guess we won't spoil it. I loved it. It was fantastic. It was probably my favorite film that I saw. It came out in 2022, and I saw it in 2023.
Okay.
Because I saw it after the Oscars. I know that.
Right. Yeah.
So it was my favorite film that year, and I think if you like Marvel movies, if you like Captain America, if you like that kind of like action adventure stuff, I think it's a great movie. It has fantastic action sequences. I think the CGI is pretty good for everything, like because all the animals were CGI.
Right. Yeah.
I think like I don't know that it was entirely photorealistic, but I don't think it was bad. If that makes sense. Yeah. Like you could tell they weren't real tigers, but like they didn't look fake or blocky. Yeah. Like they looked like really good CGI. The tiger scene at the beginning, that looked like I knew it wasn't real, but it looked so close. It looked good. Like it looked like CGI, but it looked like good CGI. That's all I can say. Yeah, they have a little thing at the very beginning saying that all the animals are CGI, nobody got hurt, even the snake. Even the snake. They specifically say even the snake.
Yep. So before we get into too much else here, there is a future for this, and I unfortunately wish that there wasn't, because this film to me is like beginning, middle, and end. This is awesome. This is great. Yes, we may want to see further adventures with these two, but apparently they're going to be working on, or are currently working on, the sequel story.
Really?
Yeah. Again, it's Wikipedia. Take it with a grain of salt, so I'm going to read this whole thing really quickly. Before the film's released, they said that they had no intentions of making a sequel for RRR nor turning it into a franchise. However, the writers said that they started exploring the idea of sequel and hope to make it happen sometime later. And then speaking with Variety, Rama Rao expressed that his hope was that RRR would be continued as a franchise. We don't need another franchise. It's okay to let things be one movie or whatever, but at the end of
again, it was based on what are they going to do? Are they going to go to England and beat up the king? Like, I don't know where you go from there.
Yeah, I don't know where you go from there either.
Like, again, like I agree. I love the characters. I love the action. It was fantastic, but like, it's not a comic book. Even though I keep comparing it to Marvel movies, it's not a comic book universe per se, where there are like supervillains under every rock.
No.
I mean, there are, probably like hundreds of millions of white people. So like, And according to this movie, they're all Doctor Doom. We're all Doctor Doom.
Oh my god!
Because Ray Stevens and Allison Duty are like evil.
Mm-hmm. Very, very evil. Absolutely evil. But yeah, overall, just really, really dug it. So again, going to the whole question of are we itching to watch the next film now? Like I just said, like we said, I'm good with it just being a single movie kind of thing.
Too, yeah. I kind of like, hey, it's gonna be cheesy. It's gonna be, I mean, and you can't even go, well, why can't Hollywood leave well enough alone? Because it's not even Hollywood. It's India.
Yeah, it's India. Yeah. Would we recommend this film to people?
I have, and like I said, I've had really good track record. Everybody I've recommended it to really liked it, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, like I said, outside of the few technical things on my end, and outside of the one or two overly violent things for me personally, but other than that, yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. So yeah, I would probably recommend this to people. So, folks, we've been doing a lot of changes around here at the GeekCast Radio Network, and we've had our rating scale system, our universal rating system for years now, and with this being our 15th anniversary of the network, Steve has overhauled it. It is now called the Geek Meter, the all-new Geek Meter at GCRN, unleashing the future of reviews. At GCRN, we're always striving to deliver the best possible content for our fellow geeks. That's why we're excited to unveil our revamped universal rating system, a fresh take on how we evaluate all things geeky. Out with the old, in with the new. Our dated star system is getting a major upgrade. Say hello to the Geek Meter, a sleek and informative way to gauge the awesomeness of any movie, TV show, comic book, video game, or whatever geeky treasure you have on your eye on. Here's how it works. Witty titles, hold on to your hats, because our reviewers are unleashing their comedic genius. Each review will have its own unique and hilarious title that reflects the overall rating. The mighty number. Don't worry, we haven't abandoned the numbers entirely. Each review will still feature a score, giving you a quick and easy way to assess the quality. And then there's the Globe of Goodness. Replacing the star system is the all-new GCRN Globe. This symbol represents the vast world of geek culture, and its different shades reflect the rating. A bright, glowing globe indicates it is a must-see masterpiece, while a dimmer globe signifies something you might want to skip. We'll be incorporating the Geek Meter into all our written reviews across every category, and the next time you are browsing GCRN, you'll know exactly what you're getting into with just a glance. So here's how it breaks down. The GCRN Geek Meter, unleashing the verdict. 5.0 masterpiece. This one's a game-changer, genius in every way. It smashes expectations and leaves you speechless. Generations will talk about it, must experience. And then we have remarkable, top of the class. Fans of the genre will be crazy to miss this. It has a few flaws, but they are dwarfed by its awesomeness, a huge leap forward. Then we have remarkable at 4.5. Really good, high quality fun. There are some issues, but they won't ruin your experience. You might even forgive them on a rewatch. And then we have the 3.5 one. It's good, which is just good. It's a mixed bag, but the good stuff outweighs the bad. There might be one amazing element or lots of fun moments that make up the flaws easier to swallow. They are not deal breakers, but they do hold it back a bit. And then 3, that was 3.5. I'm losing my mind here, folks, with how he has this laid out. It's just what it is. 3.0 is average. Meh, it's not bad, but it's not amazing either. Nothing really stands out, and it's pretty much forgettable. 2.5 is below average. Bummer, the negatives outweigh the positives. Not awful, but there's just too much meh to recommend. Maybe redeeming quality or two, but overall it leaves you wanting more. 2.0 is bad. Missed potential, poor execution, or lack of focus plagues this one. It fails in a bunch of areas, but not in a particularly bad way. 1.5 is really bad, barely any good stuff, lots of failures with a couple of epic disasters thrown in. A few successes are like tiny islands in the sea of disappointment. 1.0 is terrible. Prepare to be frustrated. This is a mess with almost no redeeming qualities. One or two quote-unquote achievements are completely overshadowed by the overall awfulness. Not the worst of the year, but definitely a contender. And then the half point is abysmal, pure, unadulterated failure. Any glimmer of hope is drowned out by frustration and incompetence. Forget it ever existed. And then a straight 0 is pure, flaming garbage. I added the flaming. It just says pure garbage. But it says burn it with fire.
So there isn't like a so bad it's good? Like, you know.
Well, so bad it's good would be.
I mean, you know, like the film's got to be bad to be so bad it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say that that's probably below average, 2.5 maybe. Yeah. So 2.5. The negatives outweigh the positives. Not awful, but there's just. No, wait, hold on. Okay, better. Mixed bag, 3.5. The good stuff outweighs the bad. So bad that it's 3.5 would be the what you're specifically meaning. And then obviously straight 0, pure garbage, unwatchable, unplayable, unreadable. This is the worst thing ever created in its entire medium. Avoid it like the plague, or risk a lifetime of misery. You've been warned. Yeah, we're revamping, folks. So, you know. New stuff, new website, new whatever. It's essentially still the same system. It's just a little different. For RRR, I'll give it a 4. I can overlook the technical things on my end.
I 5 seems so hyperbolic in the new rating system that I would probably go with 4.5.
Okay.
Like 5 is like the greatest thing ever made. And it's
yep.
Like, well, I really love this film and I think it's amazing, but do I really think it's the great? I'm going to be a lot more frugal with my 5s from now on. Because you know, like, yeah, you gotta watch the hype. So yeah, I would say 4.5. I think it's a really great film. It's a fair point that a lot of people don't like foreign films. So like, I get that, but if you don't mind foreign films, if you like action films, it is a great film, and I cannot speak highly enough of it.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we're going to go to a quick ad break. You're going to hear some podcast commercials and some other stuff, and we will come back with the next feature right after this.
Because the world needs another movie podcast.
The GeekCast Radio Network presents for your listening pleasure the Cinema Geek.
Hosted by Amanda, Kevin, Matt, and Dan.
Each week we dive headfirst in the landscape of movies as we discuss movie news,
play movie games,
go in-depth on reviews,
and even have a top 10 countdown or two.
Also, don't miss our director retrospective series, where we review noted directors' movies film by film.
Bottom line is, if you love movies and love podcasts, you need to experience the Cinema Geeks.
You can find us on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, or GeekCastRadio.com.
For the best in science fiction, join Mark Baumgarten, Vicky Jakubowski, Zion Kiros, and Juan San Miguel on the award-winning podcast Marku 42's Universe. Doctor Who, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Trek, and more are all fair game with Marku 42, which has been around since 2012 in one form or another. Marku 42's Universe is proud to be a part of GeekCast Radio Network, the best place to get your geek on. Listen to us bi-weekly or weekly if we have a topic relevant for you, our listeners. Marku 42 on GeekCast Radio Network, a match made in a galaxy near you.
Do you like the Transformers?
Yes.
Do you like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Cowabunga! Do you like IDW Comics?
And comic book podcasts?
Then come check out Ninjas and Bots. Each week we look at an issue of Transformers
or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from their IDW Comics incarnation. We drop episodes every Saturday morning.
Just like the cartoons we loved as a kid. The show can be found on your favorite podcatcher and at johnreadscomics.com.
See you then.
On the Simplistic Reviews podcast, we talk movies. We talk TV. We talk.
Hello, Julie, what the heck are you doing?
Trying to make our spots sound more exciting by adding explosions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have got the point across with sound effects, not the real thing. Car.
Download the show on iTunes or at simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
I'm sure your insurance company will cover that.
No, they won't.
No, they probably won't.
All right, folks, we're back here inside Studio 2009, and up next is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Wow.
No.
One thing here for, you know. I mean, I hate to say it. Nobody's here for all that.
I had to make the joke.
I don't think it's a dumb film.
No, it's not. I had it in my head. I had to say it. It's just a joke. It's
Did you have to say it, though?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
The old legend of the Shankara stones. The villager's sacred rock was taken.
Village stories, Dr. Jones.
Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.
I don't want to go! You know how to fly, don't you?
No, do you?
You call him Dr. Jones. Hold on to your potatoes.
We got company!
Anna, lady, we're going for a ride. Is he nuts? He's no nuts. He's crazy.
I thought archaeologists were always funny little men searching for their mummies.
Mummies.
All right, Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, second film in the serialized Indiana Jones universe.
Also a prequel.
Yes.
Because it takes place before Raiders.
Yes. 1935 is when it starts.
Famously, there's a making of documentary, and Ford says somewhere that, like, he explains it's like, well, we're filming this like 3 years later, but it takes place a year before, and I'm feeling it.
Yeah, because I was like, we'll get into it. It's directed by Steven Spielberg. Story was done by George Lucas, Harrison Ford, Kate Capshaw, Ki-Hai Chan, which I'm going to say right now, I don't know why everyone hates Short Round. He ain't that bad of a character. He's actually pretty awesome when you think about it.
Who hates Short Round?
I don't know. I've heard people say that they don't like the character.
I have never heard that people hate. Like, people love Short Round. That's why his big comeback was, like, everybody was so excited about it. Because they were like, yay, it's Short Round. But, like, and he was really good in that movie. But, like, people love Short Round. Come on.
Released May 8th for Westwood, and then May 23rd of 84 for the rest of the U.S. 118 minutes, had a $28.17 million budget, and it made just over $333 million, so made its money back. And I miss the days when you could take $28 million and turn it into 3 times that.
Yeah.
Some of these movies today, it's like, oh, it has a budget of this, but it barely made it.
Well, I mean, when your budget is $200 million, give me a break.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said, this is a prequel to Raiders, which
causes some issues.
But American archaeologist Indiana Jones survives murder attempt from Shanghai crime boss Lao Chi, who hired him to retrieve the remains of the
Narachi, thank you.
Indy flees from the city.
That Narachi's a really small guy.
Yeah, he's not. Coming of his young orphan sidekick Short Round and nightclub singer Willie Scott, unaware that the plane he is traveling in is owned by Chi. This movie. I'm going to get to the negatives really quickly and up front. The whole dinner scene, I could do without it. No,
yeah,
nope, done,
You know, I said earlier that, like, you know, I'm an old white guy. I don't really consider myself very woke. And the whole dinner scene felt, just a couple of things in this film felt very kind of racist. And very off. And I remember, because when I was younger, it was like, oh, it's really gross, ha ha ha. But it felt like it was gross in a way that it was like, look at these funny foreign people and the stuff they eat, ha ha. It's gross and weird. And I don't know, it did not have I mean, at the same time, like I've studied history, I know that the Romans ate weird crap at feasts, you know. So, but it felt off. It did not seem funny this time around. It felt very sort of patronizing and gross in a different way.
Right. Yeah. For me, number one, no political nothing, no wokeness, no unwokeness. What has nothing to do with any of that. Has to do with the fact of, oh my God, he is ripping into a scorpion or whatever the hell, whatever,
it's like a beetle.
Whatever it is. Yeah, but it's like them pulling it apart. That's like that's the overall.
Okay,
I don't
but you know, like if it was a chicken leg, they'd be eating it the same. Like if it was a chicken wing, they'd be eating it the same way. They'd be chewing it up and pulling the bones apart and. It's just, haha, they eat bugs because they're foreigners.
That's not funny at all. And I don't think it's meant to be funny, but And this is my first time actually giving this film a chance. So it's like my initial reaction was, oh, gross. Can we get to past this, please? Like, other than that, I liked the movie. Really dug it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was fun. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to. Like, I think it was because isn't it in this movie with the snake?
Which like there are two references to the snakes.
Right.
There's the one where Willie is being harassed by her elephant.
Yes.
And she grabs and there's a python comes down or a constrictor of some kind, and she grabs it. She thinks it's the trunk. She grabs it. She throws it away, and Indy freaks out.
Yeah,
and then there's the stuffed cobra at the top of the Kalima skull.
No.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it was the idol or the whatever
where they're holding the stones. He looks up and there's a stuffed cobra and he freaks for a second.
No.
I'm just saying those are the two snake.
Yeah. But it's her when she throws it and I'm like, oh, so that's where the. Because, again, for me, folks, going into this franchise is the reference to, oh, Dad would have never made it past the rats, just like I would have never made it past the snakes, et cetera, whatever the hell. Well, you know what I mean? Like, oh, so this is why Indy doesn't. I'm sure there's other.
No, dude, you're the fan of Last Crusade.
Yeah, I know.
He hates snakes because the opening sequence. He falls in like he's on the circus train.
He falls into the I remember that. Yeah.
Well, that's why he hates snakes because he falls into the whole vat of snakes and freaks him out. Not just because Willie Scott threw a python at him one time.
But that's okay. So we mentioned that there are going to be problems with this film.
The problem with this film is that the Indiana Jones of Raiders of the Lost Ark is very skeptical and does not believe in magic and fantasy, and yet he invokes the name of Shiva to ignite a magic stone like a year earlier.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit problematic.
Yeah. A little bit of problematic.
Also, it does sort of the cosmology of the Indiana Jones universe gets a little muddy. Like, I mean, like Mola Ram says that they're going to go beat up the Hindu or the other gods and then the Christian god at the end. I'm like, but that's not like assuming that's not how Christianity works. Christianity just says we don't exist. Kalima. So, like it is. The whole film feels like a weird sort of, in retrospect, feels like a weird side trip. Because the first one is the Ark of the Covenant, which is a Jewish artifact, and then the last one is the Holy Grail, which is a Christian artifact. And then this one is like the foreign countries. Like even though he's in other countries throughout the whole series,
Right.
This one definitely feels like starts out in Shanghai and ends up in India,
and because this is a quote unquote prequel, technically we could have skipped the. I didn't know. I've never looked at the wiki up until doing research to do this episode of the podcast. All as I knew about Temple of Doom is that there was a snake scene in it, and Indy didn't like snakes. That's all I've known for the last 40 years of my life. And I'm like, okay, he doesn't like snakes. Yeah, okay. And I haven't seen Last Crusade in years. And yes, I remember it now. But
they established in Raiders that he hates. Like, that's because everything, even though technically it's a prequel, because the opening sequence of Last Crusade is technically a prequel, I guess, because it's a flashback. Like the first movie always comes first. It's
right.
So it establishes that he doesn't like snakes. That's why, ironically, the Well of Souls is filled with snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? Like, that's the thing.
No, that's the joke. Yeah.
And because the film is done so well, you establish that Indiana Jones is this unstoppable fighting badass machine, and then at the last second, he's confronted with Reggie. That's just my pet snake, Reggie. And he freaks out. And the guy goes, come on, show a little backbone, will you? That's the joke. He's been this unstoppable badass. And then all of a sudden he's afraid of snakes. And then, of course, later in the film, he's got to confront snakes. And the bit about Sean Connery being afraid of rats, that's a cute little like side reference. Like, like Indy's afraid of snakes and his dad's afraid of rats. And, and this one had the bugs. And there's again, in like the making of, there's a line about how like they filmed in like Elstree Studios, and they're like, well, after 4 years, a lot of the snakes that escaped are probably eager for a hot meal from all the bugs that escaped from filming that. So this one, like that again, it establishes the first one established everything. The second one kind of codifies it so that you've got the death traps, you've got the creepy creature that freaks the audience out.
Yeah,
when it with the bugs.
Yeah,
you've got the and I'm sorry, like I haven't seen the last film, but she's not a love interest. But Phoebe Waller-Bridge isn't a love interest anyway. So I think I feel safe saying that Willie Scott is the worst love interest in the entire series, and that includes the Nazi.
I was gonna say, how are you gonna get past the Nazi on the worst? Because she's
at least she's competent, and not screechy, and not obnoxious. Like she's not like Willie is just. And the weird thing is, Spielberg married her. Like, Spielberg spent that time with her and said, that's what I want. Like, what is wrong with you, man? I want more of this. And I'm like, my God, I want less of it. She's so obnoxious and useless. And it's I mean,
so we always talk about it and we always joke because they pointed it out, and everybody always points it out, but I always point to Big Bang and whatever. It is what it is. How Indy had no, I know you're I get it. It's fine. But the point is, Indiana Jones has no consequence to Raiders of the Lost Ark. They open it, they all die anyway, whatever. She has no consequence to this film other than her whining and just being annoying. Like, oh my God, like.
Yes. She's basically there to be the girl and be the love interest.
And she's not even, like, she's pretty enough, but she's like, I wasn't like, bleh. You know what I mean?
The only sequence I like her in is the opening sequence, the musical number, the Busby Berkeley musical number. That's fun. And then the minute that's over, like, she's just acid on my nerves for the rest of the movie.
I'm right there with you, because oh my God, like, can the scorpions can the dinner entrees eat her, please? Like, just oh God, this movie.
So it is interesting because I haven't seen this film in a while, and like I still kind of enjoy the Club Obi-Wan sequence.
Yep.
That's fun.
Yep. It's very fun
stuff with Lao Che, and then Dan Aykroyd's surprise cameo.
Yes.
That's. Did you see that coming? Did you know about that?
No.
Oh,
and I was like, wait
fun.
a minute, wait a minute, okay, so this was May of '84. When did Ghostbusters?
I think they were filming around the same time. Yeah.
Probably filming around the same time, but when did they release? Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, like that whole sequence, and then like he's like, better luck next time, Lao Che, and the music swells, and he closes the door, and it's Lao Che. Like, like the music is used really well in this movie.
Yeah, yes, it is.
The music, the soundtrack is fantastic.
Yeah,
it may be my favorite of the Indiana Jones soundtracks. Like I love there's at the end when he's rescuing when they have the whole sequence where they rescue the kids from the Temple of Doom, and the music starts and it's very hard and grindy, and then it just swells and then gets to the point where the overseer gets like punched out and it's just very heroic, and then it just it's like the music, like as a general rule, even if it's a bad movie with George Lucas, it's got a Steven Spielberg sound, or it's got a John Williams sound. Yeah. Yep. If even if it's a bad John Williams, God dang.
You okay over there?
I didn't take my my meds, my brain meds. Even if it's a Spielberg film and it's not a good one, it's got a John Williams soundtrack.
Yep.
Like 1984 or 1941. 1940. Jeez.
Wow, dude, you all right?
I chose poorly. From dust over here.
Wow. Yes. Every time, and I forget which award show it was or which whatever, but there's a clip on YouTube. I'm sure it's on YouTube, but I see it on Instagram Reels all the time about Harrison coming out and they play. I think it's them honoring John, Mr. Williams. That damn music follows me everywhere because they play, introducing Harrison Ford, and the first thing they play is the Indiana Jones theme song. That damn music follows me everywhere because that damn music is so damn good,
and it's iconic. And it's to be fair, he likes that role. So
no, absolutely.
As opposed to Han Solo, which I never understood why he doesn't like Han Solo, but whatever.
So. This was released in May of '84. Ghostbusters was released a month later in June. Well, but again, they like you said,
a movie to me in my brain.
Yeah. Well, and again, like you said, things are usually going on around the same time, etc. Oh wow, they were denied, which doesn't surprise me, but they were denied permission to film in North India.
That doesn't surprise me. They filmed in Sri Lanka.
Yep. I'm looking for a date here so I can get it, because I know filming began April 18th of 83 for Temple of Doom, and then sometime elsewhere in 83 is when the Ghostbusters. So yeah, they were probably being filmed at the same time, because hell, they came out a month apart of each other the next year. For me,
to be fair, like for people who have never seen the movie, it is a very brief cameo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's and that's the thing. It's kind of like which is why I love Robert Downey Jr., which is why the cameo works out so well. Oh, hey, hi Hef. Like literally that's what this is for Dan Aykroyd in this. It's a split a half and a second and a half split.
He's got dialogue. He's like,
yeah, no, he's got dialogue.
Billy Scott, the famous American vocalist?
Yep.
It's a very Dan Aykroyd line.
Yes, it very much is. Yeah, he sells it well, and it's obviously written for him. But
few people can go through a page and a half of expository dialogue like Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, no, Dan Aykroyd's amazing. He absolutely is. But for me with this movie, like I said, I enjoyed it. 90% of it. It's the other 10% that I didn't really so much. But other than that. Focusing on the 90%. And again, I didn't know because I've never seen this. I just always assume, when people talk about the 80s and how the 80s kind of gave us, I mean, I'm sure there were sidekicks before the 80s, but the 80s really.
Have you ever heard of a character called Batman?
Yes. No, I know Robin, Dick Grayson. I understand. No.
You ever heard of Tarzan? He had a kid named Boy, which they stayed up late coming up with that one.
Right, but my point is the 80s took the sidekick basketball and ran with it, fouling all the way down the court because they took it and overdid it. You look at Scott and T-Bob, the kids from Mask.
I was gonna say particularly in the toy-based cartoons.
Absolutely, that's what I'm specifically meaning. Yes, exactly. So maybe it's just me, but like I said, I had this aversion to Short Round because I thought everyone did, and then I watched the movie and I'm like, oh my god, this kid is great. This kid's amazing. This kid essentially will almost kill anybody that is disrespectful to Indiana Jones. I'm like, this kid is awesome. So, yeah, no, absolutely. I was not very, very cool. But yeah, Temple of Doom, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
I liked it well enough. I don't feel it holds up. Like, I still kind of like the opening sequence in Club Obi-Wan. Like the other sequence that as someone who watched the movie back in '84,
right?
And is, the sequence that you remember is of course the minecart sequence. And I don't think that holds up. I think that looks like a product of its time. Also, whenever they have like a shot of the actual people in the minecart, the actual humans, it feels very slow.
Yeah, it does feel slow.
It doesn't work the way. And then there's like they tip the big thing of water over, and like the water, like you get to a point in your life where it's interesting. I got to a point in my life when I would watch Raiders, I would watch how things were like sequences were being set up, and I would get into like the behind the scenes directing of it. This time I was like, okay, water's not going to work that way. Water's going to fall into that giant cavern of lava, right? I mean, it doesn't know it doesn't know to take the turn of the track that you clicked on. It's just going to flow. Like water wasn't going to work that way. Like they duck in a side cave. It's like water's still going to go through the thing you duck through. Like it's not going to work that way. Also, a weird pet peeve of mine. As I'm watching the film, I'm looking at it. I'm like, those aren't crocodiles. Like at the end with the bridge over the gap, the
alligators. Yep,
they're alligators.
Yep, they're alligators.
I'm like, they're goddamn American alligators, and like they're American alligators, and it's just like that's kind of reptile racist. Like,
yeah,
I was furious. I was legitimately mad. I was like, it's bad enough that they just have cheap cutaway shots of the gators thrashing around, which was cheap. Like, but they did that stuff in the old movies, so like, okay, whatever. It's a tribute to the old movies. They've got like a piece of fabric and they're tearing up the piece of fabric. Oh, they got eaten. No, you can't really show people being torn apart by alligators. They're American alligators. Like, they're not crocodiles. Just it bugged me.
Yeah, absolutely. The other part, and I now understand why. Oh, so let's 39. Wait, 39? Yeah, 1985, 39 years ago.
Okay, 84 is when the movie came out, but okay.
I know.
Okay. I don't know.
So 39 years ago, in 1985, when I was in kindergarten, I had morning kindergarten at one point, and then I had afternoon kindergarten at a different point during that year of doing kindergarten because of whatever. And in the afternoon kindergarten, we had a teacher there. I don't remember what her name was, but unfortunately, on October 31st let me make sure that was actually a school day and not a day where it wouldn't be a school day. Thursday, October 31st, 1985 was Halloween. I was 5 years old. I had afternoon kindergarten at the time. And one of the afternoon kindergarten teachers of the four that the classes had, because there were 4 different kindergarten classes in my school, I got stuck with the one that wanted to be the witch. She dressed up as a witch. And guess what she brought for her costume and the afternoon snack social that we were having? Can you guess? Because it ties into this movie.
I say apples?
Nope.
Monkey brains?
Close.
Well, I don't know.
Eyeball fucking soup.
Okay, well that's a classic. I get that you don't like it and it might have traumatized you, but like the eyeball soup is a classic Halloween thing.
I understand that it's a classic Halloween thing.
I mean, you can't blame Indiana Jones on that one.
No, that's not no. Look, but I have never I was 5 years old at the time. In the last 39 years, I have never pinpointed why at that time, other than the fact that I was 5 years old and it creeped me out. Why? It's because... no, I don't blame the movie, but this movie reminded me of that memory of, eyeball soup. No, thank you. I'm 5 years old again, and I'm clutching my whatever. But yes, eyeball soup. I agree with you, the minecart sequence. I liked it. I thought it was cool, but I do agree with what you're saying about how some parts.
Well, I mean, if you've never seen it before, I don't think you're I've seen it before, so like I'm paying more attention to the flaws rather than being caught up in the story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I see that. Yeah. I mean, at the time, it was the coolest thing ever.
Mhm.
You know, back in '84. It's just it. You know, it felt very slow and very like it. You know, in your memory, it's really fast and exciting and zip zoom, and this is like clunking along and poking along. And it's like, okay. As I did mention that in Raiders, they did correct the famous whip versus sword fight. Right? He reaches for his pistol and it's not there.
Yep.
So he's got to have the fight. So we got that. That was cute. And then they stole from Star Wars. Like he runs in one direction, then you see him freak out, and then he runs the other direction because the thuggies are there. There's a ton of thuggies, like stormtroopers. Look what happened to the Death Star.
Yep.
And then weirdly enough, like, and I posted this on Facebook, like in the end they defeat Mola Ram and they're hanging on the side of the cliff, and the tuggies are shooting arrows at him. And then, yay, colonialism comes in and saves the day. The British. I mean, now most of the troops are actually Indian people, but like the British general comes in with his troops.
Yep.
Like, yay, British colonialism saving the day. I'm like, boy, you don't see that in a movie anymore.
Nope.
You ain't gonna ever see that in a movie again.
Nope. And
Which is why I said, like, as it turned out, RRR was a better match for this film than I thought.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Again, like, I don't see myself as very political in that regard, but like, it felt weird.
Yeah.
The guys who oppress this nation, and then they come in with the heroic music and save the day.
Yep. Absolutely. At the end of the day, I'm glad I finally watched the movie. I enjoyed the movie for the most part. I still won't recommend this to people because it is a prequel. Technically, on the like, if I was going to recommend the overall,
but it's technically a prequel.
Yes, technically.
Like it doesn't factor into the movie in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
really. And like I said, it creates more problems for the overall canon than it solves.
Yeah.
I don't know. The one weirdly the strongest memory I have about this movie is it used to show. I mean, when it came out, it was at the Fox Theater, and the Fox Theater was a smaller theater that had like just basically like they weren't whatever the 80s equivalent of IMAX was. They had like the huge screens. They had 2 huge screens.
Okay.
And that's where I saw Batman too. Years later. But the one thing that they taught me was, for years I never saw the scene where Willie and Indy are flirting, you know, and then he gets attacked by the tuggy. I never saw that because by that point in the movie, I had to pee. and what it has taught me and what has stayed with me to this day is to nurse my soda, like not drink it all right before the film comes out.
Right.
So,
yep.
So these days I nurse my soda through the whole film, but just I think I saw that film in the theater like 2 or 3 times, and every time when you got to the part where they're flirting, I'm just like, I gotta go pee. I gotta go. Yep. So it wasn't until it came out on video that I ever saw that sequence.
That's hilarious. All right, folks. Well, anything else you want to say about Temple?
I mean, I would give it an I don't know how to put it. I mean, if someone said, you know, I liked Raiders, should I see the next one? I'd say sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would give it a tepid recommendation.
Yeah.
It's part of the, you know, like, because we always joke that like the later 2 films don't exist.
Right.
So I would give it a very kind of like, yeah, I mean, if you like the first film, then you should probably watch it. It's okay. It's the least of the original films, I think. And like I said in the Lost World review, I think the original 2 sequels kind of take like the first film was the template, and then Temple of Doom took the darkness, and then Last Crusade took the kind of jokey, lighthearted stuff and played that up. And ultimately, I more enjoy Last Crusade than I do Temple of Doom. I think, and most people it is kind of considered before Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Was considered the bad. It's kind of like Return of the Jedi was considered the bad one before the prequels came out. It's you know, it's considered the bad one, the dark one, the negative one. Spielberg and Lucas were both in the middle of divorces when they made that film.
Yeah.
They were in a bad mood and they just wanted to take it out on small children, apparently. But who doesn't hate children?
Oh boy, folks, we're really showing the old man-itis now.
I mean,
you're not wrong. I'm not saying
getting 1984 confused with 1941. I mean, whatever. Gridlock. Who am I? Why am I here? That reference is dated. Nobody's gonna get it. So yeah, I would recommend it. I don't know that I'd be like, yeah. I mean, like I would more enthusiastically recommend RRR than I would. Yeah. But it's like Temple of Doom is part of the canon. Like I there is this thing in my brain of 80s movies and classic 80s movies, and it's like, well, it's not one of the better ones, but it's there. And you should see it because it's part of the 80s canon, part of the Lucasfilm canon. So, yeah, I would recommend it. Well, we're going to get to the rating, so I figure out what to give it. So,
well,
because you changed it all around, and now I got to figure out like what kind of number I'm going to give it. I ain't going to give it a 5, I'll tell you that.
No. For me, even with how our ratings are described, even with the new redesigned Geek Meter, for me, with a 5.0, 4.5, 4.0, etc., if something grosses me out, like the food scene, I'll take a half point off. If there's other things I don't like about it, I'll take more points off. So that's usually how I'm doing it. And even with reading out the new rating system now, and it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, Steve just gave it a new design with the way the images look and everything else. It's very, very Star Wars, very stays on target kind of thing, because it looks like part of the globe is a targeting thing. Luke, you turned off your targeting computer. I'm fine. Don't worry about it.
They're like, we're not worried about it. We're worried about us, dude.
Exactly.
Be vaporized. You want to get with the program?
Yep. And just because I know what I'm giving the next movie, because it's the next movie, even though it probably has its own issues, I'm going to give it 3.5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was paying attention when you went through it. Like, is 2.5 still a positive review? Like, is it the low? Like, what's
2.5? Okay, so 2.5 is below average.
Average.
The negatives outweigh the positives. Not awful, but there's just too much meh to recommend. Maybe a redeeming quality or two, but overall it leaves you wanting more.
I'm gonna give it a 3 then. I think that's. Because I mean, there's still some magic there. I think it's got issues. I think if you're a zoomer, it's got a lot of problematic stuff. But it's just hard for me to like completely write off Spielberg and Lucas and Indiana Jones. It's got a fantastic soundtrack. I love Spielberg got to do his Busby Berkeley sequence in the opening. I think. Short Round is a great character. I enjoy him very much. I hate Willie. Mola Ram is kind of a cool. He's a fun villain.
Yep.
Kalima.
When you kept saying that to me the other day before I watched it, I'm like, what the dog? Because I had never seen it before. I'm like, I get it now. And yeah, that is funny.
I always pronounce it Thuggy because that's where we get the word thug from in English. Yep. But they go Tuggy. So it's fun to say they're Tuggies. A couple of quick notes. The guy from The Village didn't speak English, and he said all his lines phonetically. The old man who sets him on the quest.
Right.
That was he said all those lines phonetically. And then the one thing that like have you ever heard of a movie called Roar with Tippi Hedren and with the lions?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, like the whole time Willie was on the elephant, I'm like, ooh. I kept thinking. Because famously, when they made Roar, people got hurt really bad, and Tippi Hedren like the elephant grabbed her by the leg and like just destroyed her leg.
1981.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like I know Melanie Griffith is in that, and she like literally got scalped.
Yep.
By a lion. Like that movie is ridiculous. But like Tippi Hedren got her leg destroyed by an elephant. And I'm like, just every time Willie kept screwing with that elephant and antagonizing it, I'm like, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. Like I was never afraid of elephants until I like heard about that movie. And now I'm watching this one, and I'm like cringing. I'm like, these things are gonna murder you if you piss them off.
That's right.
But yeah, I would give Temple of Doom a 3. I would recommend it as part of the series.
Right.
And there's good in it.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, it was just the reference to, like, I thought, yes, the opening scene when Indy is a kid in The Last Crusade. Yes, that's where he.
Well, that whole sequence is where Indy gets all of his shit. Like that's what that sequence is.
I know, because
to the point that's ridiculous.
No. Absolutely. I completely understand that, and I love that about that, because
I mean,
we see within 5 minutes what his entire life becomes 40-something years later.
He gets the hat. He gets the jacket. I mean, he doesn't get the jacket, but like the other guy has the jacket, so he's like gets the jacket, gets the bullwhip, gets the fear of snakes. Like it's like it is. I think it's the fun kind of ridiculous, but it is ridiculous.
Yeah, Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade is essentially the Terminator. Give me your boots, blah 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 blah, and your motorcycle.
Kind of.
Not really, but yeah.
I mean, he's inspired. Like this is the guy that inspired him.
Yeah, exactly. So I get that, but my thinking and what I remember from what I remember which I don't remember much. I just remember being scared shitless about Temple of Doom.
I mean, it scared you so bad you didn't watch the first one.
I know,
that's
right?
What's weird. Yeah.
No,
I mean,
we've rectified that. So yeah, I know.
It's not a criticism, buddy.
I know.
It's an observation.
I know. Yeah, going into this, I didn't. And then coming out of it, I'm like, okay, outside of a couple of scenes.
Again, how old were you when you saw it the first time, or tried to watch it the first time?
9, because my mom tried to. So I remember now. Holy crap, I fucking remember, even though I don't think I ever really remember. She showed me Raiders. I remember her having it on VHS, because we had this on VHS by the time 89 rolled around, and then we went to theaters to see Crusade. And I got through, now that I'm remembering this, even though I don't remember a damn thing anymore, I got through watching Raiders at 9 years old in 1989. But Temple of Doom, there's something about it I just couldn't get through.
Well, but you were 9, and what I'm saying is, like, you're not 9 anymore. You're
way older, and way older.
People change, like, and on the one hand, you have something that affects you, so you kind of remember it, and you're but like, yeah, obviously you're going to see it with different eyes now.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're 9, like, yeah,
yeah, absolutely. All right, folks, I think that's going to do it for us. In the upcoming episodes in the future, we are going to be reworking how the final words and things like that are going to go. But for now, I'm going to do it as I always do it, even though we've already done an ad break, because that's the thing, folks. 15 years, all new GeekCastRadio.com. We have partnered with RSS.com for all of our other stuff, with the audio files and everything else, and the hosting and all that. And Hostinger is amazing and everything else. And yeah, guess what, folks? No more. We have the podcast ads, but that's us promoting ourselves and promoting other people's podcasts. You're not going to hear, even if I forgot to put it in wherever it's supposed to be, you're not going to hear me talking about how much I like Last Crusade, and all of a sudden, would you like to buy some Cialis? No more of that. We're done with that crap. No more auto-generated bullshit ads that have nothing to do with the GeekCast Radio Network and our listeners.
What's up, folks? My name is Mike, and I am the host of the Mike Seibert Radio Podcast, your favorite Transformers adjacent podcast, and I've got 60 seconds to tell you all about my show. Good thing I've got a catchy theme song to do most of the work for me.
Mike Seibert Radio, we talk about stuff and things, lots of guests in-depth interviewing. Mike Seibert Radio, it's nobody's favorite show. Movies, comics, video games, and TV.
I also talk about the Transformers the movie about as much as I talk about Boba Fett. My guests are independent artists who tell their stories and give terrific advice about pursuing your creative interests, and I encourage you to do the same thing, even if I can't take my own advice. Brevity is not my first best strength, but you could subscribe to Mike Seibert Radio on most podcast apps so you never miss an episode. Make good choices.
It's time for Mike Seibert Radio.
What was that universal greeting again? Never mind, I remember. Ba weep grana, weep nitty bong.
Hey guys, it's Rodimus Primal, and be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Join me as I have Transformers discussions, retrospectives, toy reviews, and more. You can also follow me on Twitter at Rodimus Primal, as well as Facebook and Instagram at Rodimus Primal Show. Transform and roll out, and be sure to check out my content till all are one.
Last big party of the summer, folks. Let's go out with a bang.
So yes, with the closing, thank you for joining us inside the studio. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can listen to and comment on all of our content. Send any email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can check us out on all the podcatching clients you choose to use. I prefer Spotify, but that's just me. We're on the socials. X is at GeekCast Radio, at It's Studio 2009. I'm at TFG1Mike. Steve, wow. Wake up, fool. Dave doesn't do Twitter.
Get off my lawn.
That's right. Get off his lawn.
Get off my lawn.
Get off his lawn.
Get off my plane.
That's right. Yeah, yes, you're on my plane now, Dr. Jones. Join us next time when Dave and I will be talking about the 35th anniversary of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And there may be more to that because I had an epiphany during this podcast record, but I might have to strong arm Dave into doing the other part of what my idea is.
Look, man, you depending on what it is, you gave RRR a chance. No, but dude, you said you don't like foreign films and you gave it a chance. I appreciate it. I'm legitimately trying to be honest. Like, I appreciate that you gave it a chance, and I appreciate that you know. This is gonna sound very patronizing, but it's kind of legitimate. Like, you faced your fears with Temple of Doom, and you watched it. So, like,
yeah,
I'm much more receptive than I might otherwise be. I mean, it depends on what you're going to ask about, but I mean, there's a film I would kind of like to suggest, which nobody's ever heard of, and I think it's a great film that just kind of doesn't get the love it deserves. Which was it from 1989? No, it's not.
Okay, well, we could do that in the future. Hold on, okay. You can tell me after.
It's I would say, like, back in the day, it was a very Indiana Jones kind of film. Like, it's actually more like the film that they kind of ripped off Pirates of the Caribbean to make.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, we will work that out off air. But next time around, folks, 35th anniversary film, Indiana Jones and the wow, I almost said why did I almost say Temple of Doom? Come on, Mike, wake the fuck up, you idiot. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. For now, I am TFG1Mike with
David Draper.
You'll hear us back in the studio soon.
2 in the box. Ready to go. We be fast and they be slow. Wow.